Good morning, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media outlets, finfanatic.com website, and the FanSided network. Be sure to follow me at Brian Cat NFL and Paul Fanatic_pick on Twitter as well. The Dolphins travel to Buffalo this weekend to play a game that at the beginning of the year we looked at and thought it was going to be the hardest game on the schedule, and that certainly has not changed. The Dolphins, as of right now, are 14-point underdogs going into Buffalo. They were smoked earlier this year, 35-0 by them. And I looked at this. I remember looking after the Jaguars loss that it had only been like 29 days between the Jaguars loss and the Bills loss at the beginning of the season. And I thought, my gosh, how everything has changed in just 30 days.
Yeah, no, I mean, remember when we had hope?
No kidding. I mean, there's elements of a few players that we can be hopeful on, but no, it's yeah. I mean, and the Bills have had the Dolphins number for going on 4 years now. I mean, you remember that game and Josh Allen's first start where Charles Clay, former Dolphin, dropped the pass in the end zone to lose the game. That was the last time the Dolphins beat the Bills. And since then, it's been an utter nightmare. Josh Allen has had a quarterback rating lifetime against the Dolphins of over 108. The Dolphins, when they lost 35-0, actually took the Bills' points per game down from around 39 to around 38 after they scored 35 points on them. So
way to look on this positive spin.
Yeah, I'm trying to start positive here today. So no, it's all looking pretty rough. For the Bills, they should be without tight end Dawson Knox and right tackle Spencer Brown, who have done a good job for them this year, but they are going to have their usual guys: Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. So not a surprise that the Dolphins are 14-point underdogs in this one. But Paul, before we dip into the game here, gun to your head right now, is Deshaun Watson a Miami Dolphin here before Tuesday?
Before the second?
Yes.
No.
I'm going to say no too. First, there are a couple of things up in the air. And since we did the show, the word from Barry Jackson to the Houston Chronicle is that the Dolphins were seeking some clarity on Watson's suspension and have not been able to get that clarity, nor would they ever have been able to, because Roger Goodell is not going to speculate with an owner. If this happens, he's going to be suspended this many games. If this happens, he's going to be suspended that many games. And that, to me, is why the whole thing was stupid to begin with. It was always going to get to this point. And, you know, I know there's interest from the Dolphins, or otherwise I'm 100% convinced Brian Flores would have thrown cold water on this to begin with. It would have done it a couple of months ago. And as of right now, too, from Jason La Canfora of CBS, word is the Panthers have jumped back into the sweepstakes. They appear to already be done with Sam Darnold and may be willing to part with 3 first-round picks and running back Christian McCaffrey. Keep in mind it's from Jason La Canfora, though. That little
that sounds like the showcase showdown's being won by the Panthers if that's the case. That's insane.
I think it is insane too. What blows my mind about the whole thing, Paul, is that I don't understand how the price tag for Deshaun Watson has not gone down since the sexual assault allegations. That blows my mind. I thought when those allegations came out, here, before the draft in March, I think it was. I thought, well, okay, that's it. I mean, nobody's going to be stupid enough to trade for him now. And you've got 2 teams who are willing to part with multiple first rounders for him. I don't get it. And from Roger Goodell's perspective, listen, Roger Goodell suspended Tom Brady 4 games for not deflating footballs. Okay. You don't think he would go back and, in a couple of months say, okay, well, things have changed and now the investigation's complete, and really drop the hammer on him? That's exactly what I think would happen.
I think that's probably going to happen as well. But here's the weird part: because of the fact that Deshaun Watson has been on the inactive list all season long.
For
How?
for for the Texans, I want to make that clarification.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Not
team, the
not
team.
not not the NFL exempt list.
No,
Gotcha,
but
gotcha. Keep going.
it's he's a healthy scratch, and there's a lot of rules around that with the players' union that they're making an exception for right now. I can see the players' union's not going to be a fan of what he's done, but the fact that he's already being treated like he's suspended by the Texans right now, I wouldn't be shocked if there is a fight to get his time served grandfathered. Yeah, he'd have to pay back the contract piece for that, as if he were suspended. But it would not shock me if the suspension ends up being less than it is, because of the fact that he's kind of walking in with time served at that point. The other thing I'd say,
I was going to say I disagree, because that to me is a Texans versus Deshaun Watson issue, not a NFL versus Deshaun Watson issue.
it wouldn't be surprising if they fight for it. Whether they win or not, I don't know. But the other thing too is, if the Panthers walked in and just said, "We will give you 3 first-round picks, Christian McCaffrey, and something else," this would already be done. Like, they're not giving the Panthers time to think about that. There's something else going on here, and the clarification that Ross supposedly wants, he won't have before Tuesday. The, see how the legal issues played out. We're not going to have a sudden bum rush on Monday where the judge just goes, "Hey, we're just going to call it this. Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy."
Yeah, and also too, you're right. There's not going to be that clarification. And if this is also a move to get Deshaun Watson to settle, he's not going to do that either before Tuesday. And he said that he's not going to do that either, period. And he is scheduled to be deposed in February of 2022. So if the Panthers or the Dolphins acquired Deshaun Watson, I could see them. I could see Watson playing immediately and playing for the rest of the year. I could, because of that reason. Because, okay, Deshaun Watson saying he did not do this. He's been deposed. We're going to find this out starting in February, we're just going to leave it right there, because otherwise we're setting a precedent that we're going to suspend somebody for something that they said that they didn't do, and we're going to find out in February about these allegations. So, but
this
but
is
then
like this is
but
the
then in
slowest
February,
legal process ever.
yeah, they're usually slow.
No,
And
they're
then
slow, but this is insane.
well, it's from when the accusations start to the deposition, that would be less than a year still. Yeah, that seems really slow, but yeah, usually if I always thought they were a little slower than that. I don't know. I watch a lot of Dateline, so I always see like it being 2 or 3
Well,
years.
Dateline, they take forever to find the people, and Dateline, it would have been Deshaun walking into a house, going like, "Hey, I'm here for the massage therapist," and then they jump out with the cameras. Like, it would have been a lot cleaner for us.
That was always an interesting show. Yeah, never mind. So what I think will happen, regardless of who gets Watson, is that he'll play for the rest of the year, and then in February, unless he settles, if he settles, he's going to get suspended, and I think he would get suspended for between eight games in a year, if I were guessing. And then, but if Deshaun Watson didn't want to settle, and he's insisted to this point that he's not, the process is going to be drawn out even longer. And then if you're found guilty, things get really bad from that point. So that's why the whole thing is not worth it. And that is why right now, too, and I've said this the last few weeks, Brian Flores and Chris Greer for me are done here. They're finished. I don't care what happens to them. Tua is the guy that I am rooting for. I'm not guaranteeing he's going to be a star, but he's the guy I'm rooting for because he's the one that brings the most hope to this franchise and really is the reason I'm watching the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, like it's quietly the past 2 weeks, and I know it's shadowed by loss. Tua's played well, like, and that's something you can't discount. I mean, oh God, we haven't even mentioned this since we were last on the air. Malcolm Brown and Jason McCourty.
Yeah, we are. We'll get to that in a minute here. Finish your point on Tua.
No, he's played well. I mean, and he's gonna be like whether you trade for Watson or not, unless he's part of the deal, he's gonna be your quarterback for 2021 and possibly 2022.
Right, and he has played well. And I'll say this is what I tweeted out before. I do think he's played extremely well. But the reason this Bills game is so important. Okay, when you look at the Jaguars and the Falcons, they had one of the worst. They have one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. That doesn't mean two things can be true. Tua played well, and he did it against defenses that were terrible, pass defense wise. Combined, before the Jaguars and Falcons game, they were allowing a quarterback rating to opposing quarterbacks on the year of 112.4. Tua over the last two games has been at 102.7, which is still good. And if you take out an interception, then that number skyrockets too, that quarterback rating. But then again, he also threw an interception against the Jaguars when the Jaguars in their previous 5 games only had one pick. And the guy that picked it off was Nevin Lawson, who hadn't had an interception in 96 games. And it was a terrible throw. Against the Falcons, there's been some debate. And Paul, you may have some opinions on this here
Always.
about how much at fault Tua was for those two interceptions. I've got my opinions on those. Do you have anything one way or the other?
One interception, I do believe he was totally at fault. The other, he made an aggressive throw and he threw it to the right spot, but Durham Smythe was not in the right spot. He turned out of his break and just basically almost pulled an AJ Green, and just went, I was supposed to go there. That's my bad. Like, it just, if Smythe went to the right spot, that was either an incompletion or a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Absolutely.
If he ran out of his break, incompletion or touchdown.
Yes. And sticking on that one, I agree with you on that. Two ways I look at this. Number one, yes, if Durham Smythe ran a terrible route, and I attribute this back to coaching too, because I've seen a lot of terrible routes. But like Myles Gaskin in the Jaguars game, rounding off routes at the goal line, and like, what are you doing? Like, why are you stopping and just dancing around the goal line instead of running a crisp route? And I saw that same thing from Durham Smythe, where if he against zone coverage, if he boxes out the safety, it's either going to be a touchdown or it's going to be an incomplete pass.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, my analogy for this is, if you were walking along a cliff and I had your car keys and you said, "Hey, hand me my car keys," and I threw them to you instead, and you tripped and it was your mistake and you didn't catch the car keys and they went off the cliff, I'd be like, well, I probably shouldn't have thrown him in the first place. I probably should have walked over and handed him to you. And
I love you, Cap, but that analogy is terrible because Smythe's job is to catch the damn car keys. And on top of that,
that's true.
On top of that, it goes back to another point you and I have both made. Mike Gosicki's on this roster. Run him on that route.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's nitpicking though too. Gosicki was on the field at the time running a different route, and Jalen Waddle also was wide open over the middle. Not wide open, but certainly open. He was against a linebacker who was not catching where he was going. You dump it off to Waddle over the middle, it's probably a touchdown. Anyway, that one is not more that very egregious. The other one that's really more talked about is that interception by the Falcons linebacker there, where Austin Jackson, surprise, surprise, ruins another play, gets smoked off the snap. Tua steps up and tries to push the ball forward. When he does, Jalen Waddle at that time, who's squared up with him, darts over to the left. Tua throws the ball out, and a lot of people have been saying that, well, if Waddle hadn't moved, then that wouldn't have been an interception. I disagree with that, because if you rewatch the play, that ball was high and to the outside, and he was getting hit as he threw it. So
Tua sailed it getting hit. Like,
yeah. But also, and you look at, and Chris Kaufman, CK Parrott from the 3 Yards Per Carry Network, brought this up, is Tua threw 40 passes this past Sunday. 38 of them hit the Dolphins receivers' hands, which is incredible. And you look at a few of those passes, like that Durham Smythe 25-yard sideline pass, there when the Dolphins were catching up. I mean, he is an incredibly accurate quarterback when he is able to set his feet, and it looks like he's getting more accurate.
Yeah, no, he's getting comfortable. And, like, I'd argue the fact that if 38 of them hit the Dolphins receivers' hands, at least one of the other two should have, and the other shouldn't have been thrown.
Yeah, right. And those 2 interceptions were important, because if he doesn't throw that interception, those 2 interceptions, Dolphins might win the game. So anyway, go ahead.
I want to go back though to that Smythe one, because I've heard a lot of that about Jalen Waddle was open over the middle. This guy was open over here. Durham Smythe was, yes, there were 3 guys around him, but the throw was there. It was where it was supposed to be, and that's something that we want our quarterback to be able to make, that big boy throw. He can't help if the receiver stops his route. He can't. Like, Smythe stopped it in a stupid spot, and it happens, and it's going to happen with receivers. And I'm not going to critique Tua for pushing the ball aggressively for a touchdown, which is something we've all wanted him to do all year, and putting it in the right spot.
That's the same reason why I'm a lot more lenient on that throw.
Yeah.
Smythe rounded off his route, and he needs to be on the same page with Tua. And the other part of it too is, Tua takes the snap on the short side of the field there, and he's trying to get the ball in between 3 Falcons in zone defense. If he believes he did. If you believe what we believe, that Smythe rounded out his route and should have been there. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And the point is, this is the game for Tua, where it's massive for him to play well in this game. If the narrative is going to continue to change on him, because right now I see in the media this week, the narrative is starting to change on him that, hey, you know what? Does Tua deserve this? Is he really that bad? And the answer has always been no. But this is a big one here, because the Bills' pass defense is by far the best in the NFL this year. They're allowing, I said the Jaguars and Falcons combined are allowing a quarterback rating, or were allowing a quarterback rating heading into those games of 112.4. The Bills, 62.1, 5 touchdowns, 10 interceptions on the year. So if Tua goes in there and doesn't play a poor defense, and at the end of the game, this is a 30-10 Bills win, the Dolphins can't get any drives going on offense, the narrative's going to change back.
It is. And somebody made a point in chat. Send Austin Jackson's game tape to Deshaun Watson, and the whole discussion's going to be over about trading for him. And they're not wrong.
Send his game tape to Deshaun Watson?
Yep. Like, hey, Deshaun, watch. I
don't get it.
Watch on. Basically, do you think Deshaun Watson's going to want to play behind Austin Jackson at left guard?
He played behind Julian Davenport and Chris Clark at offensive tackle for a year and a half.
Yeah, but he also has a no-trade clause where he can control it and go,
That's true.
Nope.
That's true. Speaking of Austin Jackson, I'll throw out a question to you and everyone in chat. Who would you rather have at left guard?
Anyone
Austin? Else? No, hold on. hold on, because I've got a name. Austin Jackson or 2014 Dallas Thomas.
Dallas Thomas.
God, that's when I watched Dallas Thomas play at left guard, I thought there is no way the Dolphins will ever have anyone on their roster on the offensive line starting as bad as this. And yeah,
I'd almost want the Penguin at this point.
oh yeah, I mean, oh he was Darren College was not good, but he was far better. He was. I mean, that's not even close. I can't. I literally can't think of anybody else that is as
If
bad
if
in
only we
Dolphins
had
history.
somebody on the roster that played guard well last year as an ascending rookie. Um, I can't think of anybody that if they did, they should put him in number 66. And
Well, I mean, yeah. I look. I don't think Kinley. I don't think Kinley played as well as you think he did when he was on the field.
did he
Yeah, he
play better than
mauled
Austin
people, but
Jackson?
no, better than Austin Jackson. Without, I agree with you. He should be put in. And I don't. And Greg Mance was out this past weekend. Um, I'd be perfectly fine having Austin Ryder at center and Greg Mance at left guard. Why not? At least two guys who are not going to flat out ruin drives. I mean, you look at last game. Not only was okay if he makes that block, Tua doesn't throw that pick, but Tua still shouldn't have thrown the ball. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
And then also too, what in the fourth quarter, it's 3rd and 1. The Dolphins get a first down, and Austin Jackson gets called for holding. It's not even close. Like he has the first down and then he holds. I mean,
I'd rather see Jason Sanders at left guard at this point.
Sanders may be moved to left guard if he can't nail some of these field goals here. No, that's really not his fault. Everything's been a 58-yard or a block, so I have no problem with Sanders here still. But yeah. All right. And also, too, like you said, Paul, Malcolm Brown and Jason McCourty go on injured reserve. Both of them really aren't in the prominent spots that they were, in week 2 or week 3. Malcolm Brown was was getting starts at running back. Jason McCourty was starting at free safety. It looks like the Dolphins have gone away from both of those things, where they're going more with Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed, which I think is a good move. And a free safety, I do think Javon Holland's going to be a player. But last game also caught peeking in the backfield, gives up that long touchdown to Russell Gage. Xavier Howard, he has a miscommunication with Xavier Howard. So there's going to be some rookie mistakes when you have a talented kid there back at free safety. You kind of take the good with the bad.
You broke up a little bit there for me, Kat.
Got it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
All right, sounds good. So I was saying you kind of take the good with the bad when you have Javon Holland at free safety. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of range, but he's also going to take some missteps too. And given that the Dolphins are 1-6, even if McCourty were not on injured reserve, I would still want him to be starting there at free safety.
I do too. I like a lot of what I see from him. He and Brandon Jones are the future at that safety position for the Dolphins. And I like some of the things that I've seen out of him. But yeah, like you said, it's with Miami very likely out of the playoffs at this point, even if not mathematically. Let's see some of these young rookies that are the plan for the future at this point.
Yeah, and radically centerist in the chat said that Holland hit was nice, where he jarred the ball loose from Calvin Ridley. Absolutely, and we've seen 2 big hits and forced fumbles from him. He understands the timing of those hits too. So I do think, with every negative thing we've said, I do think that Jalen Waddle is a really good player. Look, I mean, Kyle Pitts, and it's kind of the Herbert Tua situation where Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts are blowing the doors off everything and makes Waddle look terrible in comparison. Waddle's a talented player. He gets separation. If he stays healthy, I think he's got a really great future in Miami. Jalen Phillips, this is a game he needs to step up, because the last 2 games he has not put any pressure on the quarterback. I still, at the end of the day, think that he is too big, too fast, and too talented to be a good player. And D-End is can be a hard position to play as a rookie too. Javon Holland, a free safety. We've seen the talent there, and I think Liam Eichenberg is at least going to be good.
Yeah.
Albeit maybe a guard moving forwards here. So we'll see. I think it could end up being we could look back on like the previous drafts and say these first 4 picks were pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. And the interesting thing though that I'm looking at while we're talking about the injuries and things like that, looking at Miami's active roster right now, I haven't seen anybody get elevated from the practice squad as of yet. But looking at their active roster right now, we only have 2 active running backs, and Igbenogany's fighting an injury, and if he can't go this week, that leaves us with 4 healthy corners for this game before practice squad elevations.
Yeah.
Nick Needham, Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, and Justin Coleman are the 4 active corners, and Gaskin and Ahmed are the only active running backs on the roster.
They've also got Elijah Campbell, who hasn't really played on defense much, and Trill Williams, who I believe has been inactive every week.
Yeah.
So we might see a little bit more of them on the field. So I think they can get by with what they've got. And also too, Omar Kelly reported as well here that, and yes, I'm bringing up Omar Kelly because he did report say this. So look, even if I'm not a huge fan of the columnist,
news is news.
News is news. Actually, he quoted Alan Popart. So let's give scrap what I said. We'll give the credit to him. The Dolphins protected Garrett Dokes this week on their practice squad, so that provides a hint about who is about to be their third tailback for the Bills. So we could see Dokes in this game, and that would be fascinating to see what we have there. And physically, I think Dokes is better than Malcolm Brown. I mean, I don't know if he's as ready to play, but at this point, who cares?
No, agreed. I'm a fan of Dokes. Still bummed out we haven't really seen Kirk Merritt. The one thing I'd say is, looking at the roster right now, I don't think the Ford's coming out of the garage this week.
So I don't understand what Preston Williams and Albert Wilson are still doing on this team, really. And I don't know what Kirk Merritt also needs to do to start to be active and see footballs thrown his way. The only time I've seen him this year is when he was wide open in the end zone against the Jaguars for what should have been a touchdown when Tua threw the ball to the wrong place. So if you're Kirk Merritt, I'm just looking at him like, what else do I need to do here to get on the field? I mean, I've been on the team for 2 years. I've overcome every obstacle you've put in my way, and now here I am. I'm actually showing that I can get on the field, get separation, and you're willing to put Albert Wilson and Preston Williams on the field over me. I don't get it. Speaking of a receiver, Paul, a lot of talk too about possibly Devonte Parker being moved. Would you be in favor of that?
Not really.
Yeah.
It's if you asked me that 3 years ago, I would have said yeah, but I would much rather see Preston Williams and Albert Wilson moved for anything.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen.
And see Kirk Merritt moved up to the game day roster. And I hate to say this, but I'm at the point now where I almost prefer Isaiah Ford to those two.
Oh, I agree. And Ford, at least it gets on the field and is hungry to catch the football. I mean, can't say the same about the other two. I thought Preston Williams, he's just looked slow, and the hunger to go up and get the football just doesn't look like it's been there the last couple of weeks. So that's that. Yeah. Look, Devonte Parker, this is how I put it, is when he's on the field, he's a top 20 receiver in the NFL right now. And if you're telling me, what would you rather have? A guy that plays 10 games a year and is a top 20 receiver and a big match piece when he's on the field, or a fifth rounder and a few $1 million, what would you rather have on a team lacking stars like the Miami Dolphins are? It would be Devonte Parker. That's why I wouldn't move him. I might be willing to move for the rest of the year. Will the exercise bike Fuller, who doesn't seem to be anywhere close to returning. When a month ago he got an he had an owie on his finger. What is going on with this guy?
Uh, all the ability in the world doesn't seem like the heart's there.
I don't think he really wants to. I don't think the heart's there with the Dolphins. That's I don't know, and maybe the finger injury is worse than I think. I don't know, but you know you,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
you look back at taking a week off for personal reasons. Who knows what that was about? It could and then there were rumors that somebody on the Dolphins offense, a skill position player, was thinking about retiring after the year. I'm not saying that's Will Fuller, but I mean all the pieces are lining up. It would make sense at least. It's a shame because I loved that signing. I thought it was a steal. But now when he gets back, it's probably not even going to matter, and that's a shame. And from that point, I don't see him returning to the Dolphins in any level in 2022. So
I don't see the Dolphins wanting him to return at this point.
no, I wouldn't either. Um, so Mike Gosicki, no catches in the first 5 quarters of the season. Now heading into week 8, he has 427 yards, and the last 2 games he has against the Jaguars 8 for 115 and a touchdown. And last game, 7 for 85. Excuse me, against the Jaguars, he didn't have a touchdown, but 8 for 115. And then last game against the Falcons, 7 for 85 and a touchdown. Dolphins are targeting him often. Last game, the Dolphins had him on the field 60 out of 73 plays. That's where it needs to be in terms of snap count. Get this guy on the field. I think he should be on the field 100% of plays unless he's hurt or getting a breather. But my fear in this game, Paul, is when you look at how the Bills crushed the Dolphins offensive line in week 1. And the Dolphins have said that all week on their offensive line. We got handled. Jesse Davis said we let things spiral out of control. I would argue and tack on that he was the number one reason for that. My fear is that they come out and say, you know what, we can't put Gosicki out there early. We need to put Durham Smythe and Adam Shaheen out there because we need to make sure that they can block.
You can do both. You can put Shaheen or Smythe on the field and Gosicki. And I'd argue that, yes, they've used him more, but they haven't really used him enough. Like, it still feels like the, oh, fine, we have to when they throw to him. And if they're not using Smythe or Shaheen to block, yeah, you send him out in pass routes once in a while. They're not staying in and blocking either, at which point, why not use Gosicki?
Yeah, and Gosicki should certainly be on the field, given that Parker and Wilson are useless. Will Fuller's not on the team. Other than Jalen Waddle and Mike Gosicki, your number 3 guy right now in the passing game is Matt Collins, who's done a very good job and really the only receiver, to me, the only receiver on this team who has exceeded expectations this year. I mean, to me, you want to ask if you want to put Matt Collins or Preston Williams out on the field. It's not even a question for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I know you agree with that too.
Yeah, no, Mac's the guy that, and I really like Mac and Waddle being on the same side. It's Mac has stepped it up this year. He was a guy that, watching that last game last year against the Bills, I was ready to get rid of after all the drops, because he just wasn't good or established enough to drop that many balls. But he's more than made up for it this year as far as his ability goes. And I like the chemistry he's built with Tua. I like the fact that he doesn't back down. I like the fact that he's not dropping everything thrown at him. And he's getting separation, and he can make those tough catches over the middle, and he can get deep. Like, is he going to go to the Pro Bowl? No. But you need those guys that can just be reliable out there and possibly break a big play.
Yeah, Matt Collins is I think a good possession guy, and he's a great special teamer too, and he's one of the Dolphins' best special teamers. So I hope he's here for a while, because he's going to have some value, and yeah, I mean he can play inside, he can play outside too. So I hope that they keep him here. He'll never He'll never be your number one receiver, but he's not supposed to be. So yeah. Um,
And
offensively,
I
yeah,
just
go ahead.
want to answer something in chat quick before we move on from receiving threats. Yes, it does kind of telegraph your play at times, Jay, that you've got Gosicki on the field. It's going to be a pass, but the Dolphins aren't running enough for you to really guess run, and Gosicki being on the field is still a mismatch even when they guess that it's pass. And Hammer, yeah, Gosicki's really more of a big slot at the moment, so which is something we've said all along as far as how he plays. So yeah, he's more of a wide receiver than anything, but it is what it is. And like we've said before, you can just put Gosicki on the field as the slot receiver or on the outside. Like he can run all of the routes.
Here's the other part of that too: is when you put Gesicki out on the field and you're throwing the ball downfield more, that spreads the field out too.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see because I said before the game last week against the Falcons, that Mike Gesicki was only on the field 64.5% of plays. I would like to see um, the running success when Gesicki was off the field and when he was on the field. That would be interesting to see because you look at, for example, there are not many big runs I can recall from the Dolphins this year, but the Raiders game, Mike Gesicki was out on the field and he even threw a block on the play where it was 3rd and 7 and the field was spread and the Raiders were thinking the Dolphins were going downfield. Quick handoff to Myles Gaskin, 15-yard gain. And when you put Smythe and Shaheen on the field and take Gesicki off, I think that even more so telegraphs plays. So yeah, that's a really good point that was brought up in chat as well. And Paul, before we get to predictions here, the major thing here is the Dolphins' offensive line. I have never seen an offensive line play that bad than week 2. And it started with Austin Jackson and Jesse Davis. And here we are now. And the only thing in week 8 that's changed really is Eichenberg and Jesse Davis, or Eichenberger and Austin Jackson flip-flopped, left guard and left tackle. So that's the big thing. If we go into Buffalo and the offensive line and the tackles get steamrolled again, I mean, you're going to replace these guys after the year, but I'm telling you, it's going to ruin the game again.
Well, and steamrolled isn't even the word for it. AJ Epineza didn't even touch a lineman. Like, at least if you get steamrolled, you slowed him down for a second while he ran you over. Like, oh,
1.6 seconds. That's how long it took from the snap on 4th and 2 for AJ Epineza to beat Jesse Davis and have his helmet into his ribs. That put him out for 4 weeks.
if I see that again, I'm going to steal a line from you here. It's an oldie but a goodie. I'm just going to throw up in my lap.
Yep. Paul, prediction for this impending monstrosity.
I think it's going to go slightly better than last time. Now that they actually acknowledge Gosicki's on the field, I'm gonna go 33-17 Bills.
33-17. Okay. I've got even closer, slightly closer. I've got 35-24 Bills.
Okay.
And partially I'm rooting for it too, because quite honestly, at the end of the day, I just want to see Tua play well. And I don't want him to go into Buffalo and go 17 for 35 for 170 yards and 3 picks. And then we're thinking, well, now there's really nothing to watch here. And all we're going to hear the next couple of days is how you should be trading for Deshaun Watson and give up anything. We don't care anymore. And the Dolphins front office at that point might be thinking the same. So we'll see. And we will be here on Sunday night when the Dolphins and Bills game concludes here. Normal time. And we'll also be jumping in on a show as well during the week if there is a Deshaun Watson trade to the Dolphins. That's going to do it for our breakdown of the Dolphins-Bills matchup. I'm Brian Cat NFL. Paul is Fanatic_pick on Twitter. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media outlets, including the Fin Fanatic website and the FanSide network. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side, it is on the FinSide.